Finally, it is time for the Promised Land series to arrive. We've been waiting for the show for over 2 years as they first filmed the pilot episode that kind of kicked off everything. They've been doing an amazing job, of course, behind the scenes and growing their social media and everything else that's been going on for the past 2 years. But now it's finally time to set our eyes on season 1 in its entirety. Now, this is a little bit different than the other shows that we've looked at in the past because it's a little bit shorter of a season and we've already received episode 1. So that pilot episode that we got last summer is episode 1 for the season of Promised Land. And so that means that we're only going to get 5 more episodes. It's not an 8 episode season like The Chosen or House of David. It is only 6 episodes in total, which means we're only getting 5 more episodes in this season. So today, let's look at episode 2. I'm not going to deep dive it right now, but I'm going to give you my general overall thoughts, and this will generally be spoiler free, so you guys won't have to worry about any spoilers from this episode in particular. We're going to look at a very small scene here in a second with Korah, just to give you an idea of what the episode feels like, and then I'll give you my thoughts about the episode overall and what I expect for the future of this season as a whole. I think it's going to be interesting. As we talked about before, this is very much The Office meets The Chosen, right? It's The Office meets Exodus, and I would say that's not 100% accurate, especially after watching this second episode. It feels a lot more like a mix between The Office and Parks and Rec, probably leaning more towards Parks and Recreation. If you haven't watched those shows, I'd say there's one big difference that I'll talk about at the very end of this video as we go through. First, let's check out a scene from the episode, and we'll talk about it here, looking at basically Moses giving the chiefs their different groups that they're going to be in charge of within the tribes.
Thank you.
Nimrod, sir.
Nimrod, of course. You will be chief of 100. Step over to Aaron for your designated group number. You don't need to bow, but thank you.
No doubt I'll be made chief over 100, probably 1,000. If it were up to me, we'd get to choose our own people. But hey, I'm just a chief. I'll stay on my path.
100.
Moses, good to see you.
Yes, Korah. I know. He's my cousin. I know. Yes, Korah. You will be leader of 10. Step over to Aaron for your group.
10?
Yes, 10. Next.
This is Mitch. Respectfully, respectfully, I believe I am capable of leading at least 1,000. Certainly more capable than Nimrod, who doesn't know his
The
sandal.
assignments are the assignments, Korah. Please.
This is an offense. Even Shem was given more people than me.
Shem, you will be a ruler over 50.
Yay!
Wow.
Anyway, you can check out the rest of the episode, of course. We're going to go through and kind of look at some points here, but I'm going to keep it generally spoiler free. That's right at the beginning of the episode, as he's kind of making these chiefs to help him to rule the nation of Israel, as Moses is a bit overwhelmed at the moment. Now, here's the things that I'll say. I think that as we saw in the pilot, there are a lot of things that carry over into episode 2. And of course, we'll see if that continues for episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll see where this all turns out, right? But here's the things that I brought from the pilot that are kind of into this episode as well. You're getting the same things. A lot of jokes, obviously. It's a very funny show overall. There's a lot of quick kind of like one-liners or moments where there's looks to camera or these interviews that happen that kind of really sell the punchlines there, which I think are really well done. I think Mitch is an amazing writer overall, and he's done a great job with these jokes and the style and the feel of this while we're still getting used to that feel overall. I also think that there are some very serious moments throughout these 2 episodes that work really, really well, specifically the endings of the episodes so far. I wonder how that will be kind of shifted over time. Will there always be serious things at the end of each episode, or will it always come back to a serious thing because it's a biblical topic, or will there be episodes that are just funny for the sake of them being funny, right? It's hard to know without seeing the future of the season, and of course we'll get there when we get there. But episode 2 in particular, I do think does a great job with the writing, does a great job with the humor, does a great job with the biblical nature of it, with grabbing some unique sort of Easter eggs here and there there. There are some really cool moments. I'll give you a little bit of a hint towards the beginning of the episode. Look at Aaron's staff and tell me what you see there. Of course, we'll break it down in our deep dives, but there's a bunch of different things, little kind of instances of biblical knowledge that are kind of spread throughout, right? And it's an interesting way to add these little Easter eggs for people like me who love the Bible and want to talk about these things and make questions for those that don't know the Bible and are wondering why they did this specific thing, right? There's certain relationships within this second episode that kind of come forward that are going to be very important to the future of this series and the future of the biblical narrative here. And so there's a lot of really cool things that are happening, a lot of really cool moments within the relationships that are happening here. I think it's a really, really well done. That said, I do think that there are some moments where it misses the mark for me in episode 2. I think that episode 2 is really well done, like I said, but there are some moments where I was like, maybe that joke didn't hit exactly like I thought it should have, or it just felt a little bit off. And this is to be expected. I mean, The Office was very similar. When it first started, they did not have exactly the right feel for every single character. And so I would assume to see the same thing here. And that's what we're seeing at some level. There are some moments where it's not necessarily the acting, but maybe it's partially the editing, partially the jokes itself. There are some moments where it's hilarious and it's like, okay, this is awesome. This is so good. And then there's other moments that just didn't land for me personally. And so I think because of that, it kind of let it down a little bit, brought it down a couple of notches for me when it came to just the overall storytelling here. Now, I do think that there's going to be more chances for this in the future, and I also think the season's going to get better as it goes along. But overall, when it comes to the biblical narrative, I think they did a really good job of sharing where they're at. This first episode is called Mount Sinai, or it's called Sinai, so you can kind of see where they're going with that and what this episode is about. And all the different characters, I think, really fit into their roles really well. Let's start talking about those. So we got Moses and his family, of course, Zipporah and Miriam and Aaron. And the four of them are kind of getting into this role of leadership, right? Zipporah is kind of the support for Moses. Miriam and Aaron are taking up leadership roles that they didn't really have before. As we saw at the end of episode 1, they're kind of moving into those roles. And of course, we know in the future, Aaron will be the high priest. We know that he is going to be a major leader within the system of Israel. And so those things are going to be important, right? And so we're seeing the beginning of those challenges now, and we're seeing Moses kind of figure out how he wants to lead as well. Does he want to take on everything himself like he did in episode 1, or would he rather spread it all out to everybody else in episode 2, or is there some sort of middle ground, right? And so we're seeing him go through a lot of those challenges within this episode 2 here, and Miriam and Aaron are going through similar challenges where they're figuring out how they want to lead and what is going on and what is a bad way to do this, what is a good way to do this. Now we move on to people like Korah and Chasisi. I will say throughout all of episode 2, I think Brad Culver steals the show pretty much throughout the entire thing. I think Brad is the center point to a lot of what's happened so far in the Promised Land, and I think his character as Korah is going to be a defining piece of this show. Absolutely. I think Brad obviously does an amazing job within The Chosen as well. But here in the Promised Land, I think he has just really knocked it out of the park and found something that is really a unique character that of course is written by Mitch and stuff, but Brad really brings it to life in a way that I think is really unique for this show. And throughout all of episode 2, you can definitely see that he steals the show throughout it. So I think that's really, really good. Of course, him along with Dav, who plays Chasisi, those two together are just a dynamic duo that I think are going to be something to behold in the future of this series as well. And of course, we know that the end of Korah's story is very sad. It's going to be, I'm sure, a weird moment in the show. Like, I don't know if it's going to be this like super sad moment or if they're just going to make it a really hilarious moment. But we all know what's coming for Korah if you've read the scriptures. It's not a great ending for him. And so I wonder how that affects Chasisi. You know, all these things are going through my mind as I'm thinking about this dynamic duo here, and as we get to Korah's men, as he has these 10 men that he's kind of leading here, and so all of that is running through my mind biblically as I'm watching this. But I think the performances from Brad and Dav are really, really well done. Yeah, just awesome stuff. The rest of the Israelite cast, of course, we don't have very many main characters. It's not like The Chosen where we've got like 14, 15, 20 main characters at times, right? That's what it feels like here. It's a smaller cast of main characters that kind of really stick to this. The last one that I'll mention is Joshua, of course. And Joshua is a really funny one to me because by this time in the biblical narrative, Joshua is a mighty, mighty warrior who like is like leading battles and killing a bunch of people and like just going crazy. In the show, of course, he's more of a Dwight type. He's more of a dopey sort of like assistant to Moses, right? And so I love that role that he's playing here. And I wonder how they're going to integrate more and more of his warrior aspect as he grows and what that looks like. You see a little bit of that in episode 2 here about what he's capable of and how he's taking things and what he's doing when he's not with Moses. And so, yeah, it's an interesting take on Joshua for sure, because the future of him is obviously incredibly important as well. Who's the next person to kind of lead, right? It is Joshua. And so he is going to be in a pretty important role coming to the end of this series or, looking towards the future. So, yeah, all in all, I'll say this. I would probably rate this episode probably like a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. And that's pretty high on my scale. Remember, 5 is like an average show. The shows that we've gotten in Christian media are normally like a 3 or a 4, okay? They're not great, but this is well above that. My wife was very impressed by the quality of it, right? They're using amazing gear. They're using obviously high-level people to do all the recording of this, and so that can't be understated either. It looks great. I think the show is written really well, except for the few points that I kind of said earlier. I think there's some misses, but generally I thought it was really, really good. I'm looking forward to the future of episode 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we'll see how the rest of this series pulls out for this season. And then looking forward to the future of future seasons and what that will look like as well. We'll have to see. But so far, I think it's been awesome. Let me know your thoughts about the Promised Land episode 2 so far. Sinai was awesome. They did a great job here. A lot of the special effects, let me mention that real quick before we end. Special effects as well, really solid. I didn't see anything that was like really horrible. It like took me out of it. That is something I was worried about with this because I know they don't have, the Chosen level budget, for example. But it's also a show where you can expect sort of like, you don't want the CGI or the effects to be like low level and like distracting, but you're not really expecting them to be like Hollywood level either. I thought they were really good. So whoever they got to do the effects, I thought did a great job. There's a couple of different effects throughout the episode here, and in the future we're going to see some more for sure. But yeah, I thought they did a great job with that as well. So nothing that like really took me out or like distracted me from watching the show, which was good. So yeah, really funny stuff. Like I said, I'd probably rate this episode in particular like a 7 or a 7.5, and then we'll see where the future of the series goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and of course, we'll see you guys on the next one. Look out for our deep dives coming very soon. Peace.